Alright YouTube, it's time to talk about the Dakota access nonsense that's going on, what I see, my thoughts on it. I will first say, as far as Native American tribes, which are the ones protesting largely right now, I'm not a big fan of the existence of reservations anyway. I believe in assimilation. No, I don't care if you happen to be a so-called indigenous person. I say this as somebody who supposedly has some Abenaki blood in me. It's an old issue. Get over it. You can retain your culture in other ways other than sitting on some casino-fed reservation, getting a small change in comparison to what the reservation as a total is entitled to. You have some, fucking white-collar Native Americans, so-called, running a casino. They're taking 99% of that money. They give people peanuts. It's high crime, low educational attainment. It's no way to live, honestly. The reservation system in this country is completely screwy. They shouldn't be dependent upon casinos and Indian cigarettes and all of these things. But I will say this. Unless the government has really, truly found, not on its own, but through a proper court proceedings, that it's necessary to build this pipeline, and it's necessary to put it specifically where they're planning to put it, I would say that they should shut the fuck up and stop building it. And they should wait. I don't think that the ham-handedness of the federal government, and states at times too, in using eminent domain or all of these other things, is usually necessary. Some of the cases you see, it's like in Florida, where they had some shoreline property, and there were like little old grannies living there, and their homes were they were small. They were small city plots, small homes, not bringing in a bunch of tax revenue. But developers wanted that piece of land, but these little old ladies wouldn't sell. So the state came in and said, oh, well, we're condemning your properties here. We're buying them from you. Oh, we're giving you a favor by giving you their actual market value. Then tear down the homes, and they put up a bunch of $500,000 condos or a casino or something like that. I don't think that's a proper use of eminent domain. I think that the government should have a harder time using it. I think that, number one, they should have to convince an actual honest-to-goodness court of law that it's necessary. Number two, they should have to show that there's no reasonable way at similar or slightly higher costs that they can go around an unwilling group of people that don't want some sort of infrastructure there, a bike path, a pipeline, whatever it happens to be. And number three, when it is impossible to avoid inconveniencing someone by taking or developing land, 200% of the value should be owed to that person. It shouldn't be, oh, fair market value. No. It should be they look at the last 10 years of evaluations, they take the highest total, double it, and that's what they get. No negotiations. A person should be entitled. If they're going to be involuntarily forced to part with their land in some way or form, they should be given much more than it's actually worth on the market. Because the government is not a private company. The government's not a private buyer who's come to a homeowner and say, hey, I want to buy your property. Here, I'll sweeten the deal and give you 10 extra %. No, it's someone who's being forced to sell. They're not being given a choice. That would be, I think, a good way forward. It would stop some of the misuse of eminent domain. No, I do not believe they should be able to just condemn a property, seize it, and then do what they want with it. I think that's certainly not what our founders had in mind. I'll say this. As a libertarian, of course, I grapple with this issue almost as much as immigration. Because on a pragmatic basis, I look at it and say, yeah, there are public works that are necessary. Oh, our water system broke down. There's no way we can fix the purification system's filled with parasites and bacteria. It's a total fucking loss. We're going to have to bury it for 1,000 years, burn it, excoriate it completely with acid and fire. We need a new water filtration system, and there's nowhere we can put it other than, well, these 4 properties have to be bought up. Okay, that's fine, I understand that, but pay people more than what their property's worth and you'd have fewer people complaining about the existence of eminent domain. It should be necessary. There should be no other similar cost way for them to fulfill the same goal, and they should have to pay the people off. I would say, why don't you try to negotiate with this tribe? Instead of dragging a bunch of military police out there to sick dogs on these protesters like they're at fucking Bull Connor's Bridge, making a major national incident that ends up seeping into the news cycle. The news was trying desperately not to cover this. I didn't see anything on mainstream news. Now Jill Stein shows up to spray paint a bulldozer. You have dogs attacking protesters. Of course, more people are paying attention to what's happening. And I believe that the Army Corps of Engineers said, yes, indeed, there's no actual legal ramification on the government's end that allows them to build this anyway, which gives additional weight to the Native Americans that are claiming the government has no right to put it there anyway. You know, we've screwed around and abused these people enough. I think the government should find a different solution. If it costs a little bit more, so be it. Is it not worth the extra stability? Is it not worth that? I would say yeah, it is. If you're going to use taxpayer money to build something like this, no, or give it over to a private company to develop, then absolutely. The government, not the people, should be the one trying to make amends, trying to make the process easier. They should be the ones going out of their way to be accommodating, because the government has every reason to do so. It makes things more stable. Things work better when you give the carrot before the stick. Instead, they simply put the riot police in there to attack people and build a bunch of barricades, and it's not really working anyway. You know, the bulldozers and cranes are still being sabotaged. What's the point? It's not going to work. You build this pipeline, it's probably going to get sabotaged anyway, costing you more money in the long term. Why not just pay off the tribes, or negotiate, or try to at least decrease the number of people there by do something for them. Do something nice for them for a change, so that they get off of your back, so that the pipeline can be built, or route it around this land. Or do something else, bury it more, hide it out of sight, do something, whatever you have to do to get it built, or give up on the idea and put it elsewhere. It's the best way forward. It just makes sense. The government shouldn't throw around its weight as though it was the arbiter, the ultimate figurehead of all authority and all law, because in many ways it's really not. In many ways, a lot of the laws and systems that are in use at any given time, 50, 100 years later, they're no longer in force anyway. So where's the actual source of their morals and ethics and their authority? Well, it's the fact that people don't completely usurp it and ignore what the government says, which in some cases really might be a good idea. Of course, people began ignoring segregation. I think they should do the same with the drug war until the drug war is completely rescinded. And I think in cases like this, yeah, the protesters probably do have the right to go there and link arms and chain themselves to a bulldozer, because it seems like there's still some sort of debate going on over whether it's legal for this to be built there in the first place. If that's the case, yeah, you have to stand with the protesters. It doesn't matter far left, far right, whatever they happen to be. I don't care if it's a bunch of communists who don't want their barn torn down. Still have a right to their private property. So, yeah, and as far as a reservation, you look at it as the collective property, really, of a tribe or something like that. I can understand why they wouldn't want this pipeline upstream of their water supply, since the government has a penchant for not treating Native American tribes very well. Let's look at our past. Yeah, admittedly it's the case that they were pretty much given the shit end of the stick in every deal that they tried to make. Even when they did try to bend over backwards to be peaceable and accommodating, the government still abused them. So I can understand why they wouldn't want Uncle Sam around building things. That's about all. Peace out.